Board of Trustee members who are here to speak with us. I've known Ms. Mabe for a while. I got to know her when I was chair of the faculty. I know I talked about that last week. And so Ms. Mabe has actually been on the Board of Trustees since 2000, for 8 years. So what's that? 2004. 2006, right?
Math is common.
So Ms. Mabe is an independent consultant in brand development, and she has been a marketing executive, a president and a CEO, and she was a leader in the apparel industry for more than 3 decades. So she's been doing a lot in terms of branding for a lot of different corporations, including Hanes Her Way, Legs, Victoria's Secret, Lee, Wrangler, and Russell Athletic. So again, a lot of different companies that she's been in charge of. She's also chair of the Merchandising Advisory Board in the College of Human Ecology at ECU. She is a graduate of East Carolina University. She graduated magna cum laude, and she was also awarded the Outstanding Alumni Award in 2002. She has a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from East Carolina University. She has many different boards around the country, in Atlanta, in Washington, D.C., and West Palm Beach. And those include the Kennesaw State University Foundation Board of Directors, the Executive Committee Board of Directors of Sporting Good Manufacturers, and the Board of Directors of PE for Life in Washington, D.C., and the committee on the committee of the Metro Atlanta Chamber of Commerce Board. So again, we're fortunate to have her with us tonight to talk about all the things that she's been doing out in the community, and it all started at East Carolina University. So glad about that. So again, we're welcome to have her with us tonight, and I hope that you learn a lot of information from her. And thank you again for your attendance.
Well, it's great to be here. I just spent the last hour or so with some of our students that are here on the front row. They haven't had enough of me yet, so I guess that's a good thing. But it was great to be asked to speak with you guys. I'm going to do this very informally, no AV and nothing fancy. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about some of my experiences and some of the things I've learned about leadership over the years. And I'm just going to start off with an apology to Marianne and the rest of you. I had a dental emergency 2 days ago. So for the last 2 days, I have been through a visit to my dentist. They put a crown on one of my teeth, and then from there I went to the endodontist who happened to do the root canal on that tooth. And I ended up yesterday afternoon at the oral surgeon who is now going to remove that tooth because the crown and the root canal didn't work. So I have some fabulous pain medications that I've been taking. So if my speech starts to slur or I don't make sense, you can assume it's probably the drugs, okay? So I am well medicated. I should not drop to the floor in pain anytime in the next hour or two, but it has been not a very pleasant couple of days. So when you get to my age, a lot of your parts start failing, and even those teeth that you've cherished and loved and spent thousands of dollars on your whole life, suddenly decide they don't want to cooperate anymore. So it's a very tough point in life. So thanks for being patient with me. I just wanted to make a couple of comments just in general about leadership, and then I'm going to go into some work that I've actually done in recent years that kind of outlines my personal beliefs about leadership and how you become a great leader. But I just wanted to start off by saying that it's great to be with you guys. Anytime I'm asked to speak with students here, I absolutely love it. You guys are wonderful. I spend countless hours here with the administration. And please don't tell Dr. Ballard or any of the vice chancellors or deans, but I would much rather be with you than sitting in meetings with the administration all the time. You're a lot more fun. So that's between us, and it doesn't go up to Dr. Ballard, okay? I do have, as you heard, a long history with ECU. I graduated here over 4 decades ago when the school was quite a bit smaller. And I did graduate from what then used to be called the School of Art. I think now we have a College of Communications Arts or something that includes what I call graphic design and art and interior design and the things that I studied. And so I have a BFA in commercial art and graphic design. And I did have a lot of conversation over dinner with some of the folks about how I got from being an art major with a career as an art director all the way to the other side of the fence and spending most of my life in the corporate business world at senior level positions running companies. So one of the things that we were talking about is that there are sometimes forks in the road in your life that you don't anticipate. And one of the things you want to do, regardless of your major and what you think you're going to do with your life at this point, sometimes things change as you get out there and start doing things, and you find something else that interests you more, or sometimes there's just a fork in the road that you want to take, and it can be a really fun part of your future. So that is certainly what happened with me. I actually started as an art director in a major financial services corporation. Had nothing to do with branding. It was a big business operation, and my job was really to run the small art department and do all of the design work. But I quickly found that what I was really good at, I'm a good designer. I wouldn't say I'm great, but I'm a very good designer and artist. But what I found I was really good at was managing people. You know, I seem to have this inept ability to build a team and to get people to work together and to really get things done. So very early in my career, though I was still an art director, I started to sense that there was something else I wanted to do, not just at the board drawing and creating and setting type and printing publications. I just felt there was something else there for me. So I was, early in my career, I was promoted to manage what they called marketing communications. So then I had designers working for me. I also had some photographers, I had some writers, and I had some editors. And so I was spending more and more of my time managing and less of my time actually doing the creative work. And after a few years, I started to notice that all of the work I was doing and that my team was doing was really about communicating the decisions and the directions that other people had made. So we had other executives across the corporation who were making decisions about where the business was going and what our strategies were going to be and how we were going to develop things. And then when it came to me and my team, our job was to communicate that, to educate people, to communicate what was going on, to do fabulous marketing materials to sell everything. But we didn't get to make any of the decisions. So I decided at that point that I was thinking what I would really like to do was be in more of a strategic role and to really be the one making the decisions, not just the one talking about the decisions someone else had made. So that was kind of a turning point in my career. And I decided the thing that I really wanted to do, having looked around a lot, was that I really wanted to be in the marketing world. And I didn't know exactly what marketing was. I was doing marketing communications, but I was really interested in the whole concept of brand development and marketing great brands. So I made a decision to take a huge leap and to leave the art career behind and to go into marketing. I found an opportunity in the apparel and fashion industry. And the guys in the business school don't like to even say this, Jim's sitting back there, but I've never had a business course in my life. And you say, how can someone who never took a business course end up running companies? But you learn by doing. And I just had a sense that I was going to be really good at this marketing branding thing. So I leaped into it, and I think it was, in the end, the perfect marriage for my creative skills, having studied art and design for 4 years, and my just natural strategic mind. You know, I'm a strategic thinker, and I like that piece of it. So it just seemed to come together, and it was really a great change in direction for me. So now I was actually evaluating opportunities. I was doing consumer research. I was figuring out how people were thinking and how they were living their lives and figuring out what kind of products they might like to buy, and then creating a brand strategy for developing those products and getting market share and selling millions and millions of pairs of this, that, or the other. So that's kind of how my career progressed a little bit. And it turned out to be a great career. Fashion is very exciting. Apparel, not quite as exciting as the Fashion Expo, but it's still a worldwide enterprise. So during my career, it was a very colorful career. I got to travel to a lot of exciting places in the world. I spent tons of time in New York City. It was like my second home, shooting commercials in Hollywood. I mean, all of those things that were a part of that world were great. And the nice thing, as I said, is that you were always still being creative as well as being a really strategic business person. But one of the greatest things about that career was that it allowed me to work with many great companies. And in doing that, I worked with great business executives, great entrepreneurs, great designers, and a lot of impressive leaders. And so as I went through my career, I learned, it's like osmosis. The more you're around great people and great leaders, the more you start to see and observe and feel what makes them really great leaders. So I continued to move up the management ladder through my career, and most of it was because I developed this ability to lead others. And if you are a leader and you know how to lead people and how to build teams, you will move up, because that's what most businesses need, strong leaders. And so you have employees, you have business units, you have brands, you have business partners, and all these people are dependent on you to help them get the job done. And again, I think the skills you develop are going to come from observing strong leaders that you work with, or that you know are people that you cross paths with. I also think you become strong leaders through trial and error. Not everything you're going to do is going to work, and every time you fail, you learn a heck of a lot. And every time you're in a situation where you're not an effective leader, you learn a tremendous amount about what you need to do to be a better leader. So it's a process that goes on constantly as you're dealing with people. Many of the corporations, I was very fortunate, many of my corporations require that executives spend a great deal of time in service areas outside the business. And I worked with a number of big conglomerates, and they expected all of us to give a huge amount of time to civic organizations and nonprofits and so forth. So very early in my career, I started doing a lot of work outside the business world, and I developed a lot of my leadership skills through all of those organizations that I worked with. So it was a great, great way, working in the nonprofit sector, to also hone your leadership skills in addition to what you were doing in the businesses. And then a few years ago, I decided it was time to call it quits on the corporate career and kind of wind down that piece. And so I really decided that what I wanted to do in the years I have left before all my teeth fall out is to figure out a variety of organizations that I wanted to give my time and energy to. And one of the first on my list was ECU. I graduated here. This is the place I learned the skills that I took out into the world. This was the place that gave me my start in a very successful career. And I thought, what better thing could you do with your time? And especially gave me an opportunity to come back to North Carolina and be closer to ECU. But I couldn't think of a better thing to spend my time on than East Carolina. And I do a lot of other work in the community. I do tourism boards and doing things of that sort. But being able to work with this great university and to help build our brand and really create a very special image for ECU has been a really, really great experience as part of my retirement. I think, as Marietta mentioned, I have worked here at the university for years. I did move back to North Carolina from Atlanta in 2005, so I've been around about 9 years now, and I've actually been on some of the boards here as long as 12 or 13 years, so spent a lot of time here. But I think the primary reason I was asked to speak tonight is because people want to hear about all the fabulous brands I worked on. Now, I'm going to talk about leadership, but I'm going to take a few minutes now just so you'll know that I'm aware that when I say something like Victoria's Secret, I see some lights going in the eyes, okay? People know the brands. And so for the men in the room, I'm going to tell you that, yes, I have worked with some of the world's great supermodels. I've worked with Naomi Campbell, I've worked with Tyra Banks, I've worked with Claudia Schiffer, I've worked with Frederique and Stephanie Seymour. But for the women, I'm going to tell you that they have flaws just like we all do, okay? But it's nothing that 3 hours with a hair designer and makeup artist and another 2 hours with a professional stylist and about $50,000 in cash won't make perfect. So I just want you to know that in real life, they come into the shoot, the photo shoot, with greasy hair tied back in a ponytail, no makeup on. They've got, a few zits and a few flaws and a few tattoos that you have to airbrush out of the final photo. So I just want you to know that it takes a lot of work to make them look as good as they do in the magazines. I hope that will give you some solace in life. It's true, believe me. The first time we did a photo shoot, it was like the first one walked in the door. I think it may have been with, maybe it was Naomi Campbell, and I thought, this is what we're paying $150,000 for. But again, after 5 hours, she looked pretty good. Anyway, there's one little thing I like to do before I start talking about leadership with every group that I speak to, when I do get out to speak quite a bit. But over the years, I've had several people say to me, gee, there just can't be a home in America, a drawer or a closet that doesn't have at least one of your products in it. And so I always like to kind of test this theory when I'm out talking with folks. So I'm going to ask for a show of hands here, okay? Is there anyone in here who has anything from Hanes or Hanes Her Way? Right hand. Okay, we got something. Woo, great. Ah, one of my first friends. Love it. Okay. How about legs? Has anybody ever had anything for legs? Pantyhose aren't as big as they used to be, but we still have them around tight. Donna Karan. Does anybody know Donna Karan, the famous New York designer? Anybody have any Donna Karan? I see a couple of hands there. Fabulous stuff, very expensive, but worth every penny. Liz Claiborne. Anybody ever heard of Liz Claiborne? Okay, we got some of that. Who's that a guy? I think they have a men's line now called Claiborne. Don't they have some men's wear too now? When I was doing it, it was just women's. How about Nautica? Anybody wear Nautica? Anybody got some Nautica? Lots of hands. Worked on Nautica. How about Lee jeans or Wrangler jeans or Riders jeans? Okay, got a lot of those. Okay, good. How about Victoria's Secret? Anybody ever bought any Victoria's Secret? I see any man's hands go up. I'm going to do what I see a couple guys. Okay, got it. We want to ask some good questions. Okay. But now I bet I'll see some guys' hands on this one. How about Russell Athletic? They call it high school uniforms, maybe the baseball uniforms. Okay. Some of you guys had to play Little League in Russell Athletic. Okay, good. There's a brand, smaller brand that we bought a few years ago called Moving Comfort. It's women's running apparel and stuff, and they have Moving Comfort. We don't have any of those in here. Anybody a hunter? Has anybody ever heard of Mossy Oak? It's like camo gear. Okay, camo, cool stuff. It's cool stuff. It's made for hunters down in Mississippi, a little company down in Mississippi that makes this great hunting gear, but it's become kind of a fashion as well. How about Spalding? Anybody know Spalding? Everybody had a basketball or some Spalding apparel? Okay. Well, those are all brands I've worked on over the years. So you have substantiated the theory that most people have something I've worked on in their drawer. Isn't that amazing? Amazing. Okay, I'm ready to get serious now and talk a little bit about leadership. And I'm going to share with you some thoughts that I have on how to be a strong leader. And Liz was very helpful. She's made a copy of the principles I will go over. You can take up a copy after class if you're interested. It's really an honor to speak with you guys. You are very special students here at ECU. You are going to be the leaders of the future, and so I'm really thrilled that you would ask me to talk to you about leadership. And I hope you will take away something that will be of value to you in the future. So what I'd like to do now is really talk about leadership. Strong, effective, and impactful leadership. There are all types of leadership, but I'm talking effective, strong, and impactful leadership. As a student here at ECU, we expect you to develop strong leadership skills to take with you through life. We hope that every one of you, when you graduate and walk out the door, is a leader in some form or fashion. And as an honors student, we have even higher expectations for you, because we really want you to be not only a strong leader, but we want you all to be role models of excellence and service. So we expect a lot more of you than we do of just every student here. We want every student to be successful and every student to leave here with an understanding of leadership, but we expect you guys to be very, very special. And I know that Mariana and all of her staff work very hard on that. Whether you pursue a career in corporate business, whether you're decide to go down the entrepreneurial route and start your own business, whether you're in the scientific and medical fields, or whether you end up in service, nonprofit, or education sectors, you will need leadership skills to succeed. That's the only way you're going to be successful. At some level, in every situation, you're going to need to be leaders. And developing leadership skills is a lifelong pursuit. It never ends. It requires continuous learning, study, observation, and experience. And your expertise in leadership is ever building and ever evolving. Your leadership style changes constantly. So even when you think you've got it figured out, you'll see something and you'll decide you haven't got it figured out. And I can tell you, sitting here 6 decades old, I'm learning every day to be a better leader, how to be a better leader. So I truly, truly believe that leadership is a lifelong pursuit and it is ever evolving. You just don't figure it out and then have it and walk away. Not going to happen. So over 4 decades in both business and nonprofit roles, I've learned much about effective leadership from strong role models, from coaches, from managers, and from mentors that I've known along the way. I've learned more about leadership from the people I have been with than any other way. I can read a good book on leadership, but it's what you see and observe that really teaches you the lessons. I have also learned much more about ineffective leadership from poor examples I have observed. I mean, if you're in a situation where you're working with someone who is a terrible leader, and who just doesn't get it and doesn't know how to make it happen. It's an agonizing experience, but you will learn a lot about what you don't want to do as a leader. So always keep your eyes open and learn from those who aren't very good leaders as well as those who are. I have some strong beliefs about skills and qualities that define an effective leader. The kind of leader I want to follow and the kind of leader I hope I have become. So I've been asked to speak a lot about leadership over the years, and I decided a few years ago just to go ahead and distill all of my thoughts down into what I call the 12 principles of effective leadership. Now, I originally was going to try to get it down to 10, but I struggled with it. One time I was at 19, and that wasn't a nice number, so I finally got it down to 12. Even dozen feels pretty good. So that's what I've been working with in recent years, and I tend to change them and evaluate them periodically because I learn something every day. But you will notice when I go through my principles with you that some of my principles tend to focus on what I call the softer side of leadership. Now, I'm often asked about being a woman in the corporate world. And when I started my career, there weren't a lot of women in the executive suites in the corporate world. I was one of those women way back in the 70s and 80s where you were supposed to dress for success and you were supposed to wear the little blue suit and you had to integrate yourself into the men's world of corporate business. But I've found through the years that many of the qualities that make you an effective leader come from what I call the softer side. It's the more emotional aspects of leadership that I think are often underrated, but in my opinion, they are critically important in becoming a great leader. So you're going to focus on that as you go through my principles. So let me start here, and we'll have to do this later. So I'm going to start with principle number 1. This is my principle. Think and say we. W-E, we. We is inclusive of others and creates a spirit of partnership and teamwork in any situation. It is much more powerful than I or me. Think about the people you are around that all they talk about is I and me. I got to tell you, a great leader talks we. We together are going to do this. We together can make this happen. We together can figure this out. Be a team player. Focus on what is best for your organization, your team, or your business, rather than just your personal interests. Try to see the big picture. Don't be so introspective. It's not about you. It's about we. Use an inclusive leadership style. Involve others in assessing options and making decisions. This builds a sense of ownership and inspires others to support you. And ultimately, they will follow you as a leader if they're a part of it and they're included and they're in on the decisions. Always remember that multiple minds are better than one. Now, I know everyone in this room has a great mind. We're very fortunate. We all have good ones. But teamwork invariably leads to better decisions and more effective execution. So don't ever think that you're going to find a better answer by yourself than sometimes working with others and getting other inputs and other ideas. Building a strong team helps make you a successful leader. Have you ever thought about it? If you're working on something by yourself, it's kind of hard to lead because there's nobody to lead. But if you really have leadership, you're going to find yourself in situations with many people and you can help those people come to the right conclusions and the right actions. Principle number 2, always treat people with respect. Take an interest in others, and I'm talking a real interest in others around you. Value the contributions of everyone with whom you have contact, in classes, in an organization, on a project, or in your daily life, no matter how unimportant their role may seem. It's amazing. You go to the cafeteria. I just had the experience of dining in West Dining Hall. It's lovely. But you have someone working behind the counter making you a quesadilla. That person has an interesting life. They have interesting ideas. They have interesting thoughts. You know, don't forget people around you have lives of their own, and they have wonderful things to learn from. So no matter how mundane someone's role in life may be, you know, take an interest in them and value their contributions. Learn to be a good judge of character. Be compassionate. Care about the people around you, who they are, where they come from, and what they think. Truly care. Let much of your personal satisfaction come from helping others succeed. And that is one of the hardest lessons in leadership. We all think about me, 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 I'm gonna be a strong leader, I'm gonna get ahead, I'm gonna be the star of the show. But the true satisfaction comes when you have people working with you or working under you or working beside you, and you can help them become leaders, and you can help them become successful. And you must give respect to earn respect. Okay, that's a lesson in leadership, but it's a lesson in life as well. You can't earn respect if you don't give respect to those around you. Principle number 3, stay true to your values. Be yourself, unpretentious, genuine, and real. Don't waste time and energy playing games. Always act with integrity. Be reliable. Believe what you say, mean what you say, and do what you say. You know how people say something and they never do it, and they don't really mean it. Don't do that. Believe what you say, mean what you say, and do what you say. Be trustworthy. Deliver on commitments, and respect confidences. Be straightforward and honest. Confront issues, but deliver the truth with compassion. As you get into leadership roles, whether it's in a student organization or when you get out in the business world, there are going to be situations that are very difficult. And you're going to have to sit down with people and explain why they're losing their job, or why they're closing the factory, or why, you know, this, that, and the other are happening. But you have to deliver the truth. You cannot fool people. You've got to be straightforward and honest, but you have to have compassion. Be accountable for your decisions and actions. Accountable, very important word. If you're a leader, you must be accountable for everything you do and what your team does and what your organization does. A great leader builds an organization that mirrors his or her values and priorities. So if you're leading an organization, you want everyone in that organization to have the same values and the same priorities that you have. Principle number 4, focus on opportunities. A lot of us focus on problems. I like to focus on opportunities. You get a lot more out of the opportunities than you're going to get out of the problems. You have to solve problems, but your primary focus should be on opportunities. Be an effective problem solver, but allocate most of your energy and resources to the opportunities. Pursuing opportunities provides a much greater return on your investment. And if any of you go into the business world, you're going to hear a lot about ROI, return on investment. You know, how much money are you putting into it? How many people are you putting into it? How much effort are you putting into it? How much advertising dollars are you spending on it? It's all about return on investment. And that's a measure that's used in a lot of businesses and jobs along the way. But you only get to that return on investment by looking at the opportunities. If you spend all your time off solving problems, you'll never move the ball forward. Be a visionary. Dream about what might be. Clearly and consistently communicate your vision to others. You can have these wonderful ideas and these wonderful dreams and these wonderful strategies, but they go nowhere if you can't share them with others and get others to buy into it as well. Always set the bar high and develop clear strategies to reach it. There's a tendency sometimes to set the bar a little low so we can meet the goal and pat ourselves on the back and look like we did something big. Trust me, the satisfaction is much greater when you set the bar very high. You get very strategic about how you're going to get it, and you get everybody to jump over the bar. That's the time to really celebrate. Show drive and determination in attaining goals. Be persistent and don't give up. Principle number 5, be passionate. Love what you do or stop doing it. That's a hard one. You've got to have passion for what you're doing. Marianne is passionate about this honors college. You start talking to her, you can feel the passion oozing out of her pores, okay? And I'm sure when she's around me and I get passionate about something, you can feel it too. Passion is a good thing. It's a really good thing. And very few of the successful leaders I have worked with over the years have not had tremendous passion for what they were doing. Inspire others with your enthusiasm. If you're enthusiastic about the things that you're doing, others it's very infectious. Others get enthusiastic as well. And it does a lot to make things happen. Let your passion for the business, the project, or the cause make those things happen. And don't be afraid to flaunt your passion. Now, Jim can testify to this. When I start talking about something that I'm very enthused about, I tend to talk very fast, and it's like you just can't shut me up. Okay? But that's okay. That's my passion. I'm passionate about it. Don't be afraid to let someone see that you're passionate about an idea, or you're passionate about this project, or you're passionate about this event you're doing or the commercial that you're creating, you know, let your passion show. It's a good thing, and it will really affect those around you. Principle number 6, be creative. Think out of the box. It may be a cliche, but it's a powerful way to operate. You've really got to reach out for new ideas and get out of the same old way of doing things. Look for alternatives and options, fresh ideas and new approaches. Search out creative, innovative thinkers. Spend time with them, learn from them, recruit them to help you if you can, because they will make a huge difference. Be seen as someone who is always searching for and embracing new ideas. Remove the words, we can't, that won't work, or we've tried that before from your vocabulary. How many millions of times have I heard those words? We've done that before, it didn't work. We can't do that, we've tried that. Don't, if somebody starts doing that in your organization, just stop them and say, no negatives, okay? Let's think about the positives. So be creative and really come up with new ideas. Principle number 7 is to be flexible. Be a champion of change. Embrace change, don't resist it. Change is one of the hardest things to deal with I've ever encountered in my career. You get comfortable doing things, and the idea of changing everything is very hard. It makes everyone very uncomfortable. It frightens people, it's very scary. But you never move anything ahead if you're not willing to change. So you have to learn, number 1, to embrace change, and secondly, to be a champion of change if you want to be a good leader. One of the sure ways to fail as a leader is to fight change and hold on to the old familiar ways. You're not going to go doing that. You must always be moving and looking at new ways of doing things. Adapt quickly and react decisively to changes in your situation or changes in direction, priorities, or opportunities. You've got to see it and you've got to react. You've got to do something. Challenge the status quo. Question the current ways of doing things. It's one of the toughest things in a lot of businesses and situations you'll be in. If everybody's kind of comfortable and things are working okay, nobody wants to rock the boat. But you're never going to create and do new things and make the business more exciting and make the business grow if you don't question the status quo. Continuously look for new and better ideas and processes and learn from others. And lastly, in terms of flexibility, be courageous. To be flexible and to try new ideas and to think out of the box and to be willing to find new ways of doing things, you gotta have some guts. You gotta have some courage. Because most of the people in your organization are very uncomfortable. They're not gonna like the fact that you're challenging them to really get out of the box and think of something new. Everybody's in their little cocoon and it feels pretty good, don't rock the boat. So you're gonna have a lot of courage as a leader. Principle number 8, be disciplined and decisive. Prioritize, prioritize, prioritize. Do not get overwhelmed by senseless tasks. One of the biggest things I see is that people get so mired down in the weeds that they just get paralyzed. And you have to prioritize. Some things are important, some things are not. You've got to learn how to figure out what's important. And as a leader, you have to help your organization figure out what's important. You've got to focus on the things that matter and don't waste your time on things that don't. Never underestimate the importance of superior organizational skills in successfully managing your job, your career, and your personal life. If I were going to teach a course someday somewhere, I'd want to teach something about organizational skills. I think there is nothing more important in being successful and being a good leader than figuring out how to organize things. You're going to have to organize teams, you're going to have to organize people, you're going to have to organize ideas, you're going to have to organize business plans. Learn to be organized. Some of us are naturally organized. I think I'm an A-type, obsessive compulsive organizer. Some of us are just slobs and could care less. That's okay. But if you're going to be a successful leader, you've got to develop some good, strong, effective organizational skills. It's really, really critical if you're going to manage the span of responsibilities that you have in leading. And that's true even in a small organization. If you've got a team of 20 people, student organization, and you're trying to make something happen, you're trying to plan an event or something, somebody's really got to have strong organizational skills to make it happen. So to be a good leader, work on organizational skills. Solicit appropriate input into decision making, but don't hesitate to make the final call. A good leader will ask for input. They will look to all of their folks for ideas. You will look to your teammates and your peers and people that work with you for ideas. But at the end of the day, you don't really run businesses or create brands or do a lot of things by consensus and vote. Sometimes somebody has to make the tough call. So you're sitting there with 3 or 4 ideas, somebody's got to make the decision on what you do next. So be sure that you have a lot of input in the decision making, but as a leader, at some point, you have to make the tough call. And it's a little frightening at first. Over time, you get used to it, but don't be afraid to do that. Learn the art of compromise. Compromise is critically important to being a leader. So you've really got to learn how to work with people and find ways to meet in the middle and find ways to compromise to make things work effectively. Make decisions in a timely manner and avoid what we used to call in the corporate world analysis paralysis. I've worked with people who would spend weeks analyzing something every which way because they were afraid to make a decision. And analysis is a good thing. And I'm sure a lot of you are in classes where you have to do a lot of analytical work. That's great. But at some point, you must make a decision. So I've seen so many people who just can't analyze things to death, but they're so afraid to ever make a final decision. So avoid analysis paralysis. When it's time, make a decision. That's what a leader does. And step up and make tough decisions when necessary. Again, as a leader, some of the decisions are easier and some are really, really tough. But as a leader, you're expected to make those calls. That's why you're a leader. Principle number 9, be a skilled communicator. Be organized, focused, and concise in your communications. Project confidence, but never arrogance. I've worked with leaders who are extremely arrogant, who stand up and tell everyone what to do, and it's a very uncomfortable thing. They're really very arrogant, thinking they're the only ones who know what to do or have any ideas. You want to have confidence, but never arrogance. Become an effective salesperson, able to sell your ideas, your vision, and yourself. A huge part of being a leader is salesmanship. People have to build confidence in you. They have to want to follow you as a leader, and that takes a lot of salesmanship. Always tailor both the content and tone of your communications to your audience. It's critical, and I know a lot of what you're going to learn in the next 3 or 4 years here in your education is how to be a better communicator. You're writing papers, you have to give presentations, you have to do all kinds of things in the academic world that require good communication skills. And one of the keys is always understanding who your audience is and make sure that what you're communicating is working for that audience. Become comfortable speaking before groups of all sizes. In fact, learn to enjoy it. I actually have a good time doing this. I don't find you threatening at all. You may start throwing potatoes at me in a minute, but I'm cool, But you'll find the more you do it and the more comfortable you get with it, the more you actually enjoy it. It's really a fun thing to do. But if you're going to be a strong leader, you're going to have to learn, if you don't learn to love it, at least learn to do it and enjoy a little bit of it. Because you will find that effective leaders are usually great speakers. Number 10, continuously learn and teach. Never believe that you have all the answers. You may be an expert in something, but don't fall into the trap of thinking that you are an expert. Listen more and speak less. I have a real problem with this one. It's amazing what you will learn. I'm a talker, I have a hard time listening. My listening skills are not good. I've worked on it for 50 years. They're still not good. But the more you listen to people, the more you learn. And so don't have a tendency in projects or meetings or groups to talk all the time and not listen to what anyone else is saying, because you're going to miss a lot of great information. Keep an open mind and explore new ideas. Don't be afraid to ask questions and admit that you don't know something. People will respect your honesty, and you will learn something in the process. I've seen even the loftiest leaders, a CEO of a corporation, ask lots of questions because they want to know, and they're inquisitive, and they learn from other people. They don't just stand there and give everyone the answers. Invest time and energy in broadening your knowledge and skills. read trade publications, get involved in professional organizations, attend conferences, seek specialized training. Throughout your career, whatever you do in life, you're going to want to constantly learn more and update your skills and ever increase your knowledge. It never stops. It never stops. It's very important. Also invest time and energy in developing others. When you're in a leadership role, I think one of your biggest requirements is that you're developing the people around you. That's what being a leader is. You want everyone you work with to be a great leader too. So your job is to bring them along and really develop others. Share your knowledge and skills to help them succeed. Principle number 11, we're almost to the end. Embrace the power of diversity. Value diversity, not just diversity of race and gender, but of background and education and attitude and culture and age. One thing I found in my years of building brands is that every brand is targeted to a different consumer group. And you know, you've got this product and it's really targeted to a 20 to 40-year-old, you know, with 2 kids, and you've got this product that's targeted to a, you know, an 18 to 24-year-old, you know, cool dude who's young and swinging, and you know, everything is very much about very diverse groups of people within the universe. And a lot of what you're doing is trying to figure out how they think, what they need, what the requirements are to make those people successful, to make those people need your product or that type of thing. So be very aware and really value all the tremendous diversity we have. You know, so many different people with different ideas and different attitudes and different lifestyles. It's fabulous. Solicit diverse ideas and opinions to enhance your decision making. I mean, if you take, you know, a row here, every single person's probably got a different perspective on any question you ask. So, you know, it's valuable input, it's wonderful. So value that diversity and be sure that you're using that as you make decisions. You're getting a lot of perspectives and a lot of different ideas. Build organizations that mirror the population and the markets in which you operate. In my case, I was in apparel and fashion, so if I were going to build an organization to market a new line of athletic apparel targeted to Little League players, do you think I would staff that organization with all women? Maybe not. Would I have some coaches? Probably have some guys on there who played Little League. Probably have some women because they had a different perspective. You know, you've got to really think about the diversity of ideas and opinions and make sure that you're using those in whatever you do. And be a role model for fairness and tolerance. I think we talk about that a lot here at the university. It's critically important that you have diverse groups of people with diverse ideas and that you really are very tolerant and very fair in all your dealings. You won't have a successful leader without that. And perhaps the most important principle for me, number 1, even though I have it as number 12, is to have fun. You know, don't take yourself too seriously. Let others know you value a sense of humor. You know, I love to, when I'm in an organization and I'm leading, I love to hear people laugh. I love to have a lot of humor. We don't sit there very seriously, even when we're dealing with a $100 million idea that just failed in manufacturing and we're about to lose money. And, you know, you gotta have a sense of humor. You gotta find something that keeps you going. So let others know you have a sense of humor and value that sense of humor in others. Laugh and encourage others to laugh. And nothing's the end of the world. You know, it's just really not. You know, so don't, as a leader, don't get so serious about everything that you lose that ability to laugh. Create a workplace culture that is interactive, friendly, and enjoyable. And I say workplace here, same thing if you're at a student organization. You know, make it interactive, make it friendly, make it enjoyable. Make people have fun working on things. And as a leader, that's your job, is to make people really enjoy the kinds of things that you're asking them to do. Take time to celebrate small victories and achievements with your peers, your employees. Celebrate for yourself as well. Anytime you do something well, and I've been in so many situations where everyone gave heart and soul to a project for months, it finally comes to fruition, you bring it to market, it's all done, and somehow the guys at the top never just stop by to say, job well done, or thank you so-and-so, you know, you really did a great job, or we really appreciate all the effort you put into this. People don't take the time to do that. And so there's this letdown feeling, you worked your butt off, and here it is, and nobody bothered to even come say thank you. So I truly believe that you have to celebrate successes with your peers, with your employees, with other people you work with in organizations. I think it's critically important that you do celebrate your victories. And you can all hold each other and cry together when you have a disappointment and you're not victorious as well. But you've got to be there for each other. Use the word thanks, congratulations, and good job often. Again, I've worked in businesses where these words were never spoken, and it's so demoralizing and it's so discouraging. And I think you as a leader need to learn now that those words, thanks, congratulations, and good job, are worth gold. Just a couple of closing thoughts. I do believe that applying these 12 principles, this is just based on my learning and the things that I try to do, but I think some of these will help you be a stronger, more effective, and a much more respected leader. And I also believe that integrity and compassion are as important in effective leadership as intelligence, discipline, and ambition. And I think early in my career, I thought it was always the smartest person in the room who was going to be the leader, or the person with extreme discipline. I'm finding it's a mix of characteristics that really make you a good leader. There are all kinds of dimensions to it. I think the softer side is very important. I think the ability to constantly learn from others and change and admit that you don't know everything and have other people help you find the right answers is critical to be a good leader. And I think in the end, if you have fun with it, I think it really, really works. So at this point, I would just say, lead on and have fun, and I'll be glad to take any questions. I hope that was somewhat helpful. But okay, challenge me. What don't you believe that I said? What have your experiences been? How many of you are in leadership roles right now in a student organization or in a club or athletics? Yeah, I've got quite a few hands in here. Yeah. What are some of the experiences you're having as leaders? Is it hard? It's not an easy job, is it? Yeah. Anybody? What are some things you've run into? What are some things you struggle with?
Change. You said change. That was a good point. Like, there's so many times where you want to get a group of people to think differently, but they're so used to one way. That's a really good point, I thought.
Yeah. It's one of the hardest things I've encountered, especially big corporations and stuff. Nobody wants to change it. Change is very frightening. It's really scary to people. It makes you very uncomfortable. You're very comfortable doing what you've always done. It's really scary when somebody challenges you to change. But my experience has been, especially when you get out in your careers, that if you're not willing to change, because things change, the market changes, consumers change, the environment changes, the healthcare system changes, if you're not one of those people who can change, who can find ways to adapt to change, you won't be successful. So it's frightening. I still get afraid every time I have to change something. But, I work my way through it because you've got to do that. And so as a leader, in a group like that, you just got to find some ways to encourage people. Make it fun. Bring the cookies and sit everybody around the table and say, let's just think of some new ideas that we've never done before, just for the heck of it. And see what comes out. You just got to help break through the shell a little bit. But it's tough. It's tough. Others, experience with leadership. What are some others struggling with? Anybody? Gosh, you're all great leaders then. You don't have any struggles. Anything else? Questions for me then? What would you like to ask me, if anything? About what I've done? You can ask me about anything. Businesses I've worked on, brands I've worked with, anything that's good. Yes ma'am.
What's been your favorite experience so far, working with people or working in your brand?
It's interesting. I get that question a lot with brands because they were all so much fun. I feel like they're my children. I walk in the store now and I'll see a pair of Hanes underwear and I get real excited, or I'll see a pair of jeans I get real excited. They're like my children. I love them. A lot of them I haven't worked on in years, but they're like my children. Some of the ones that were especially fun for me were Victoria's Secret was fun. I'll tell you a little bit about that one. I was hired to go to Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret was a retail brand. Now, there are a lot of retailers that just open retail stores, okay? They don't think of themselves as a brand. There's a guy named Les Wexner who started the Limited back in the 80s, long before you guys were born. And he was one of the people who when they first started building malls, the big enclosed malls with all the stores. Les had a little company called the Limited, and he opened these little stores called the Limited. Now there's Limited 2, and there's Limited. Express, and there's Structure, and there's Abercrombie and Fitch, and he owns all of these different concepts now. Victoria's Secret was one of them. But his whole philosophy was you went into a mall and you got a space and you opened a store. He didn't do marketing, he didn't do advertising, he didn't do PR, he didn't do any of the traditional things that you would do to grow a brand. You think about a brand like Nike, okay? Think about all the advertising, all the endorsements, and all the things they do to build that Nike brand, or Under Armour, any of these guys, any brand. It can be orange juice, it can be anything. They spend a fortune trying to make you wear those brands. Well, Mr. Wexner's attitude was, we'll open doors, we got these concepts, and they will come. And he did not understand the concept of consumer marketing at all. So I was hired from a career in consumer marketing. I had been working in brands like Legs and Hanes and Donna Karan and Liz Claver, and doing a lot of branding. And in those places, we were manufacturers. We designed product, we had designers, we created the concepts, we did consumer research, and then we actually had the products produced. In the early days, we ran our own plants and made all our own products, and then you took it to market. And so marketing the brand and building the brand was about figuring out what the consumer wanted, what kind of products we needed to make to fill their needs, okay? We tested those, we did research, we did concepts. Then you had to market the heck out of it. So you get the right product, you gotta fix the packaging, you gotta set your price points, you gotta figure out what kind of promotions you're gonna do, you gotta do advertising, are you gonna do TV, are you gonna do print, which models are gonna use. So all of that goes into getting the product ready to go to market and marketing the product. And if you're successful, the ads are good, the product's good, and everything works, you start to build this brand and people want to buy it. So Mr. Wexner thought that you just kind of open the doors, and you put the shops in, and everyone would come. And he didn't do any marketing at all. So again, they came to me, I had been marketing brands, and they hired me to come in as the VP of marketing for Victoria's Secret to introduce them to the concept of brand marketing. So while I was there, we started the first advertising. We did the first print advertising, we did the first television, I did the first Victoria's Secret fashion show. We started doing all these wonderful things to really start to expand the brand and talk to people about it. At the time, the only marketing they did was you would walk through the mall and there would be a sign in the window of every store that Limited owned saying, buy two, get one free, or 50% off now. That was their definition of marketing, and that doesn't work. That's not going to get it. So it was kind of an interesting, it's one of the more interesting things I undertook. Number one, he didn't believe in marketing. He agreed to bring in a marketing person to try to do some of this, but in his heart and soul, I could tell he really didn't buy into it. He didn't think it was going to do anything. So everything was a battle there. I had to fight to do the first print advertising. I had to fight to do television. I even had to fight to do consumer research. He thought that was hooey. He said, if you go out and do consumer research, now consumer research is going out and talking to all the people that you think might buy this product and finding out what they needed, what they wanted, what they liked, what they didn't like. You made up prototypes, you let them wear it, and they'd come back and tell you what they thought. I mean, if you didn't do the right research, you had no idea what to take to market. You had to figure that out. Well, he thought that was hooey. He said, my merchandisers, these are the people who would design the products. He said, they've got good instincts. You start giving them all that data and all that research, and it's just going to mess things up. Okay, this was his attitude. So I actually worked with the president of the company. I was VP of marketing, and there was a president who came out of retailing. But she kind of understood what I was trying to do. So we had to, behind the scenes, we hired a market research person, and we actually hid them in the retail merchandising staff, the people who design products, okay, and made it look like that person reported to someone else in the organization. It wasn't for marketing. And we did the research kind of on the side so that he would know we were doing it. And then when we got the results back, we only shared them with the president, myself, and my two or three of my marketers. So it was like this big secret underground thing we had to do for 2 years to do the research to prove what we needed to do in the brand. It was the most bizarre situation I've ever encountered. But in the end, we did a lot of marketing. We made a lot of strides there. When I went to work with them, I think our sales were $950 million, and I left 3 years later we were at $1.5 billion. So, we made tremendous progress in doing classical marketing. But that was one of the more interesting adventures I had, where you're hired by a company to come in and do something, but the head of the company, the CEO, doesn't really believe in what you're there to do. So that was an interesting challenge. Let me think of some some others that were kind of fun. Russell Athletic was a really interesting venture for me. I had been in women's apparel for years. Karen was Lakeland Post with, Hanes, Away, Legs, Victoria's Secret. And then all of a sudden, I was thrown into the world of sweaty jocks in athletic uniforms, okay? Totally different world. I remember my husband, he used to go to some of the photo shoots when I was with Victoria's Secret or Legs or some of those. He loved to go to New York with me to photo shoots, you can imagine why. And so when I joined Russell Athletic, and we were making Little League uniforms and Major League Baseball uniforms and basically a lot of college, the Pirates, until a couple years ago, always wore Russell Athletic. So I invited him. I was going up to New York for a photo shoot, and I asked if he wanted to come along with me. And he said, why would I want to go see a bunch of sweaty guys in sweatshirts running up and down the steps in the stadium? No thanks, I'll stay here. So he wasn't really excited about that particular assignment. But that was a real transition for me. I'd never worked that much in men's products, and our primary business was about men's. Most of the apparel had been athletic uniforms for guys. While I was there, we started a women's business. It was interesting. We did consumer research, and we found that Russell was about a $300 million business. We found that 90% of the products were bought by, guess who? Women, not men. Not men. It was moms buying for their kids. It was, team uniform stuff, cheerleading, all the stuff was really bought by women. So we said, well, that's interesting because it's not the men who really know the Russell Athletic brand and the quality of the brand and make the purchase decisions, it's the women. And interestingly, we need to be talking to the women, not the men, because the women make the buying decisions. But even more than that, women we found were buying like Russell sweatshirts, okay? Now the Russell sweatshirts were sized to fit men's bodies, okay? Men don't have hips like we do, okay? So you take a man's sweatshirt and you put it on a woman, and it bunches up right around the widest part of our body that we don't particularly want it to bunch up around, okay? So we looked at it and said, okay, number one, we know that women make most of the purchase decisions on Russell, and they think it's a great product, and they buy it for their husbands and their little boys and their kids. So why aren't we giving them a product that's designed for them that's also made by Russell, because the quality's great, they already know the brand, and they love it. So we started a women's division. I put together a merchandising team of designers, product designers, and within a year and a half, we had a $25, $30 million business in women's apparel in just over a year and a half. And it was because we already had the target consumer. She loved Russell, she bought it for her husband and kids, now she could buy it for herself. So we redirected our marketing knowing that women were making purchase decisions, and that impacted the sales of men's apparel. At the same time, we started a women's line just for the women, and they loved it because they were willing to buy Russell Athletic anyway. So that was kind of an interesting world where we were dealing in jocks and teams and all that stuff that I wasn't really used to. But the same principles applied, and it was really interesting to take a different approach to that building and that particular brand and rebuild it. So kind of an interesting challenge. Those are just a couple. But other questions? Anything else? Yes, sir.
How would you personally define success?
How would I personally define success? Well, I guess there are different dimensions to success. And I think there's what I call an internal measure of success. It's when you know what you want to accomplish, you feel like you've accomplished that. I think there's a feeling of success. I think there's also the external people who look at you and say, gee, he's a success. So I think there are two ways to look at it. I think that what people feed into you, your external audience is going to feed into you whether they think you're successful, you get promotions, you're moving up the ladder, you're inventing something new, or you're doing a breakthrough in medical science. You're going to get a lot of input from your peers that you're being successful. I think ultimately it has to be inside you, though. You kind of know when you think something's successful or when you think you've accomplished something. So I think it's two dimensions. I think you'll get feedback externally, and people will think you're doing something right and they'll think you're successful. And I think you have to set goals in your own head and kind of know what you want to accomplish. And then I think you'll have your own feeling of success when you think you did something that really made a difference. I know that's kind of a strange way to look at it, but that's kind of the way I felt it all my life. So it's external feedback and then your internal. Just knowing what you wanted to do, did you do it? Other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What are you doing now?
I just hang out over here most of the time. When I left the